Hey guys, Brad Danger here, and Toyota just got lapped by a company that also sells rice cookers and phone chargers. I'm talking about Xiaomi. Yes, that Xiaomi. They built a car, benchmarked it against a Tesla, beat it, and most of you didn't even know that this thing existed until 3 seconds ago. So buckle up because this is about to be the most humbling 10 minutes of your automotive life. Like, subscribe so we hit 2 mil, and let's go. Hey guys, real quick, the giveaway for the Shelby and Supra and the $100,000 has ended, and well, the winners are being picked right now. But we're coming back bigger and badder and better. So click the link in the pinned first comment because like Rocky, who won the GTR, like Greg, who won the 100K, you can sign up to be notified and get 100 free entries once it goes live. So click the link down below, go put in your email, and I can't wait to show you what we have cooking. All right. Back to the show. So here's the pitch that you probably heard 100 times. China is coming for the car industry. Scary music, stock footage of a factory, cut to commercial. Cool, thanks. Very informative. Except almost nobody is telling you the actual insane part of the story, which is that these cars are already better than what Toyota, Honda, GM, and Volkswagen are building right now today. This year. And the only reason that you and I can't buy one is because the US government is physically standing in the driveway with its arms crossed. Let's talk about the 5 names that you need to know because this isn't one scrappy startup. This is 5 separate companies all sprinting at the same wall. BYD, Geely, Xiaomi, Chery, Leapmotor. If none of those ring a bell, well, congratulations, you're a normal American car buyer because none of them are legally allowed to sell you a car. The US slaps a tariff of over 100% on Chinese EVs. There's also a federal rule banning connected vehicle software and hardware that comes from China. And there's a bill in Congress right now, backed by the United Auto Workers and GM and Ford and Honda, that would ban Chinese cars outright. So when Detroit tells you they're not worried, just remember they're also the ones lobbying Congress every week to keep the competition illegal. That's not confidence, that is a restraining order. And here's the part that should actually scare you if you love cars. While Toyota is taking 5 years to redesign a Camry, Chinese automakers are going from a blank sheet of paper to a finished car in 18 months. Some are doing it even faster than that. The average Chinese EV on sale right now is under 2 years old. The average foreign brand EV is over 5 years old. That's not a small gap. That is the difference between an iPhone 17 and a flip phone with an antenna. And it's not just quantity, it's genuinely wild engineering. Xiaomi's SU7 Ultra prototype set a lap record at the Nurburgring for a 4-door car. A phone company did that, not Porsche, not BMW, a company that made your little brother's earbuds. Meanwhile, BYD has a car called the Yangwang U9 that can straight up spin in place like a tank and also happens to be one of the fastest production cars on the planet. Somewhere in Stuttgart, a Porsche engineer is reading that sentence and quietly losing his tie. And it's not one lucky lab result either. Geely runs high-speed digital simulators and hardware in a loop testing that let them validate a brake system or a turn signal in a fraction of the time it takes a traditional automaker to run the same test in the real world with an actual physical car sitting in a garage somewhere. They even built a car-shaped simulator that lets an engineer test entire vehicle systems without building a single physical prototype. Meanwhile, the average legacy automaker is still emailing PDFs back and forth about bolt torque specs like it's 2004, and fax machines are still a thing. Quick roll call of the actual car companies because they're not identical flavors of the same soda. Chery has been China's #1 export for over 2 decades and is basically the quiet grinder of the group, expanding into Europe and Latin America while everyone argues about the flashier names. Geely already owns Volvo, which means they're already inside a legacy Western automaker playbook for years, and they're now using the same knowledge to build brands like Zeekr that make Volvo's own lineup look sleepy by comparison. Leapmotor teamed up with Stellantis, meaning Jeep and Dodge's own parent company, is quietly betting on Chinese automakers to teach it how development actually gets done in this decade. And BYD, the biggest of the bunch, is so profitable it doesn't even need the US market and has said so out loud, which is either supreme confidence or the best negotiating bluff in the industry right now. Either way, you guys, this is not what a company on its last legs sound like. So why is this happening? Well, after days of research, I realized it's not magic, and it's not just because everyone in China is grinding 18-hour days, although sure, that does help. The real answer is these companies stopped treating cars like cars and started treating them like phones. Toyota builds a car the way your grandpa built a house, slowly, carefully, and with 40 different suppliers arguing about screw sizes for 8 months. BYD? Well, it builds almost 3/4 of its own components in-house, not waiting on some third-party supplier in another state to email you back next quarter. No 20,000 line spec sheets nobody actually reads. They test it in digital simulators instead of building 50 physical prototypes and crashing them into a wall for fun. One platform, dozens of cars, software updates pushed out monthly instead of once a decade at a dealership recall event where they hand you a stale coffee and an apology. Legacy automakers develop a car like they're building a cathedral. Chinese automakers develop a car like they're pushing an app update. And listen, I totally get it. Some of you are already typing, but the quality in the comments before I even finish the sentence. Sure, let's talk about the quality. You're telling me quality while your Wrangler is on its third infotainment screen recall and your neighbor's truck has been in the shop more times than you've been in the gym this year? Glass houses, my guy? Glass houses made of recalled sheet metal. Let's actually run the numbers because this isn't just vibes. A study from Alex Partners found Chinese automakers develop new products roughly twice as fast as legacy competitors, with 40 to 50% less investment and about a 30% cost advantage on top of that. I mean, listen to that again, half the money, double the speed, and a lower price tag at the end. That's not an underdog story. That's an ambush. Now, the twist, the actual reason this title isn't clickbait. These cars are not just coming eventually, they are already parked at the door. Canada just opened the gates. Up to 49,000 Chinese EVs a year get rolled into Canada at massively discounted tariffs. BYD, Chery, and Geely are already moving in. Leapmotor sold over 350,000 cars in the first half of this year alone, nearly double what they sold the year before, and set a monthly sales record in June. GM's own joint venture in China is setting up a shop in Mexico, which, if you think about it for just 2 seconds, is one of the funniest sentences in this entire script. I mean, GM is helping build the very car that might end up parked next to a Silverado at a stoplight. So next time you're in Detroit or Buffalo, don't be shocked if the next car to you is something you've never heard of, driven by somebody who got a better deal than you did on your last truck payment, and didn't even have to negotiate with a guy named Gary for 4 hours. This is the exact playbook Japan ran on Detroit in the 80s, except turbocharged, supercharged, and electrified. Back then, it took over a decade for Japanese cars to get from a joke to the reliability standard everyone measures against today. China is trying to do the exact same thing in a fraction of the time, except this time, the legacy guys actually saw it coming, and they're panicking accordingly, which somehow makes it worse for them, not better. Ford's in talks with Geely. Volkswagen already partnered with Xpeng. Japan's own manufacturing association just launched an entire task force basically titled "Please Help Us Go Faster," led by Toyota's former CEO, which is the corporate equivalent of setting off your own fire alarm. That's not a company being cautious. That's a company that just watched their homework get copied, improved, and turned in early. So let's do the hot take. The one that's going to live in your comment sections rent-free. Toyota is not scared of Tesla anymore. Tesla, well, they're old news. Tesla is basically a legacy automaker at this point. Don't at me. The thing that should actually keep Akio Toyota up at night is a phone company from Beijing that decided cars were just really big smartphones with cup holders and turned out to be completely right. And before anyone says this is just cheap junk flooding the market, cheap and bad are not the same word. Some of these interiors make luxury European brands look like they got furnished from a clearance sale. Some of their softwares make a modern German infotainment system look like it's still booting up Windows XP. The stereotype is a decade out of date, and stereotypes are usually the last thing to catch up to reality. Right behind your uncle at Thanksgiving still asking if diesel trucks are the only real trucks. Now, is there a catch? Well, obviously, there's always a catch. There are over 100 car brands in China right now, most of them losing money, and nobody actually knows which 5 of them are still going to exist in 15 years. Buying one of these today is kind of like adopting a puppy from a shelter that might grow up to be a golden retriever or might grow up to be legally a different animal entirely. Parts availability, resale value, and long-term reliability are all one big question mark with a bow on it. So, no, this isn't a sell your Tacoma tomorrow video. It's pay attention, you guys, because the ground is already moving under your feet video. Think of it less like a puppy and more like a startup stock tip from a cousin. Some of these will be Amazon in 10 years. A lot of them will be pets.com with a steering wheel. The trick nobody's cracked yet is figuring out which is which before the warranty runs out. Here is the uncomfortable prediction from me. The second those tariffs crack even just a little bit, and they will, because Canada already blinked and Mexico's wide open. You're going to see Chinese brands undercutting the Camry and the Civic by thousands of dollars while out-teching them completely. Dealers are going to have a rough couple of years. Legacy automakers are going to have a rough couple of years. And you, sitting there in your paid-off Accord feeling smug, are going to have a front row seat to the fastest shakeup this industry has seen since the assembly line itself showed up and put horses out of jobs. Drop your take down below. Are the Chinese brands the real deal, or is this just going to fall apart the second the training wheels come off and somebody actually needs a warranty claim honored? And if you actually think your 2019 Corolla is safe from all this forever, well, go ahead and tell us why in the comments. I mean, we could definitely use a laugh today. Subscribe if you want to see this actually coming before your group chat does, and, well, that would help us hit 2 mil by the end of the year. Like, check out some of these Ideal vids over here. I'm Brad Danger, this is Ideal, and promise me one thing, keep living the Ideal lifestyle.